Now, I wouldn't ordinarily bring a private conversation from a closed up group into public, but you know what? People need to see this, especially parents if you got autistic children. I keep saying that I can have the same conversation with any psychotherapist that works in ABA with autistic kids as I can with any dog trainer out there. Why? Because none of them have any psychology background. They all believe they do. They always do. If you read this post, it's all about behaviors. What is a behavior? What causes behaviors? What causes stimming? How cortisol is related to stimming, the whole 9 yards. And of course, before too long, the first comment that I had was Mr. I have 2 psychology degrees and he's a psychotherapist. And this conversation got really, really weird. Now, as you notice, I'll be as we go through, I'm going to tell you point blank. I'm going to show you where I actually asked him if he wanted to talk about behaviors, and we need to define the word, but he never did. I asked him to define the word behavior. I asked him to define what operant conditioning is. He just got really weird. He danced around it and did it all else. So let's have a look. This guy's got 2 psychology degrees. Okay, you can feel free to stop the video and read what I had posted. Now, Daniel Corrales, Mr. Two psychology degrees. Psychology is as much a religion as is Christianity, Islam, and Marxism. Like, where the hell does that come from? Behavior based psychology is more based on observable behaviors, but Jungian Freud and not Freudian psychology? Ha! There you go. There's no psychology. What he's saying right there is based on observable behaviors. All they care about, just like dog trainers, is looking at things objectively. They could care less about the subjective. They want to take the subjective and sweep it underneath the rug. What is subjective behaviors? That's all the psychology. Psychology itself explains all the subjective. Subjective makes you everything that you are. It's all of your past experiences, all the positive and negative consequences of your actions, everything that makes you the person that you are today. That's all the subjective. They don't care about that. They only care about observable behaviors, the objective, and that's all dog training does. So we keep on going. I noticed that you didn't use Skinner in your reply. Okay? Let's fast forward too much here. Okay? Didn't bring up Skinner's name. He brought up Jung and Freud. But yet, even Jung is all about subjective. Okay? And I get into how kids are getting beaten as a result of ABA, trauma, PTSD abounds in the community, and Skinner and Jung would be abhorred if they seen all of what's going on. Okay, now just watch what he comes back with because it's quite interesting. You know, and he will not answer any questions. Now, since you want to pull out the credentials, give the people the definition of behavior. Please define operant conditioning. And he comes back, wow, really, operant conditioning is exactly achieved with positive reinforcement, which is absolute crock of shit. Positive reinforcement, yet again, does not have a treat. It's basically rewarding the desired behaviors. This is all dog training. This is all Conrad Most, this is primary inducements. And the autism community knows all about the words inducement and compulsion, reward and punishment. But yet they can't figure things out. They can't put two and two together and realize that it's all about dog training. A lot of them can, but they don't know exactly where it came from, and that's Conrad Most. Okay? And he goes right here. If you want to go deep into the water, let me know. If he wants to educate me, you know what? All I'm asking him to do is define 2 words. If you want to talk about behavior, let's define the word. How do you define behavior? But he will never do it. Okay? And I said it right here. You just told me you learned all about Skinner. You haven't actually sat down and read books from Skinner to verify what you learned. None of you have. And I'm trying to explain that. I didn't use Skinner's name because anybody who studies Psychology 101 at the local community college would know who the fathers of behavior are, Watson and Skinner. But yet I guarantee you he hasn't read Skinner because he's talking about positive reinforcement as a tool, something you pull out of a bag, something you apply, and it's not what positive reinforcement is. Yep. Ah, crap. This pause button is not working properly. Okay? But if you go down through and pause the video, you can actually watch. I'm such a light-skinned Mexican. He's talking about everything else but the word behavior. He cannot define the word behavior. He cannot explain what a behavior is. He doesn't understand Skinner, and he's already told me within the first paragraph that he's never read Skinner. But yet the entire system of ABA is blamed on Skinner. That's the reality. Again, I come down here. If you want to talk about the favor, define the word. And this is all this back and forth, but he's still not doing it. Okay? And he's getting insulting, he's getting condescending, and he's name calling. And this is what I said right here. If you're going to get insulting, because once you start name calling and ridiculing, you've already lost. You look down your nose at your clients like this when you're doing to me? He's talking to me, he's getting insulting, he's getting very condescending, and I'm asking him point blank, do you do this to your child clients that you're working with? And it's quite interesting. And I asked him again, if you want to talk about behavior, define the word. I know it's a scary term for you to define, you know? You got 2 degrees and people are going to watch this. And he just gets really, really weird and off the deep end. Engaged in a full Socratic pseudo-intelligent rhetoric, he's using all kinds of big words, but yet he's still dancing around the whole idea of defining what a behavior is. Because he can't do it. It's not important to him because all he looks at is behaviors objectively, not subjectively. It's the subjective that drives all your behaviors, not objective. But all he wants to look at is objective. And this is the big problem in autism. This is the reason why kids are being rewarded and punished. They're being beaten into submission. This is the reason why they're full of trauma, full of PTSD. But yet nobody seems to understand Skinner. And I kept asking him, if you want to talk about the word behavior, define it. But yet he can't define the words. It's kind of hard to have a conversation about behavior when I don't know your definition of it, right? And he refused to read it. He refused to define it. And then it gets really, really interesting. Further down, okay? Now he gets into Dr. Dre. Instead of defining the word behavior, he gets into Dr. Dre and everything else, okay? Bringing up all these big keywords and whatnot. You know, and thank you for this highly intelligent and educating conversation. Negative reinforcements generate behavior of flight and flights, and that's your positive reinforcement, and that's what I'm seeing in you right now. I'm being a negative reinforcement, and I'm actually driving his reactions to fight and flight. You know, as Rumi said, "Fiha, ma," whatever the hell you call it. This is a certified psychotherapist, okay? And then he comes back, and I also apologize to the extent that I'm stressed the fuck out right now because I'm going to, yada, yada, yada. He comes up with all these excuses. Instead of actually having a conversation, he's coming up with all these excuses because he can't define a fucking word. But yet he's the one that started at me. He's the one that came at me. You know? And as like I said, I'm sorry for your troubles, but you came at me with both barrels as the expert. Are we going to talk or are you going to bow out now? And then watch what he does. He's going to bow out. He actually blocked me and banned me. And he bowed out. But it's the kind of garbage that we're dealing with all the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're in these groups and you're dealing with these psychotherapists and psychologists and whatnot, understand. Ask them point blank to define the word behavior and explain where behavior comes from. Because if they can't do it, then they can't find their ass with a map, and they shouldn't be calling themselves a behaviorist. Period. Have a good night.